going to show you how to make some little Christmas cross earrings. I've been busily designing a few Christmas projects for us, so the next couple projects will be Christmas videos. But of course you can do this in different colors and wear them for every day too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas cross earring. Anyway, this is what we're going to make today. Let me pick them up so you can see them against my skin and see how pretty they are. That's what they look like. Let's go ahead and look at the material list. Okay, for this project you will need 2 ear wires. I'm using this little gold tone French wire for mine. Then you will need 15 O-seed beads and 11 O-seed beads. These are both Toho, and they are the galvanized permanent finish Starlight in the Toho line. They're gold tone. Then you will need 38 4mm Bicone crystals. I'm using a Swarovski, and it is Siam, I believe, or ruby. This is a red Bicone. And then I'm going to use 16 3mm Bicones, and these are also Swarovski, and they are emerald. You will need some thread, so I am going to use Nanofill, and I'm going to use 8-pound today. You can use 10-pound if you would like, and you can use 6 or 8-pound Fireline. We are going to be using 15 O-seed beads, so it is better if you use the smaller weights. I would say 8-pound in Nanofill and 6-pound in Fireline would be better. And then you will need a size 10 or 12 beading needle. A 12 may be easier to get through the 15 O's. You will need to thread onto your needle about an arm's length and a half. You may even want to go a wingspan just to make sure you have enough, because we're going to sew through these beads to secure it quite a bit. So go ahead and thread some thread onto your needle and we'll get started. Okay, to start this project, you will pick up a 4mm Bicone crystal and then 3 11 O-seed beads, and then a 4mm Bicone crystal and 3 11 O-seed beads. If they quit arguing with me, I'll do it. And then a 4mm Bicone crystal and 3 11 O-seed beads and a 4mm Bicone crystal, and then 3 more 11 O-seed beads onto your needle. So this is what we will have on our needle. Bicone, 3 11 O's, Bicone, 3 11 O's, Bicone, 3 11 O's, Bicone, 3 11 O's. Start with the Bicone, end with the 3 11 O's. Bring this down to the end of your thread, and you don't have to leave a long tail, just a short one, just enough to kind of hold on to your beads. And then we will go up through the last Bicone crystal, or the first one we put on the tail side. Go up through it. I cut 11O, that's okay, doesn't matter. Pull it into a circle like so. And then we are going to sew back through all of these beads. So I'm just going to pick up all of my beads and start sewing around here to secure my first unit. Once I get to where my thread, my tail thread and my working thread meet, I will tie a little knot between the two of them. So I will let's get you a little closer. I will just make a loop and bring that little tiny knot in between my crystal and my 11 O-seed bead. And then I will sew through the crystal and go through the first 2 11 O-seed beads and exit. And then tighten it up if it slips a little. I didn't tie a real incredible knot there, just enough to kind of hold it, and then pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a 3mm Bicone crystal, and an 11-0 seed bead. I'm coming out of this little 11-0 here. I'm going to skip the next 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0 after that, and go into the middle 11-0 in my next set of 3. And I'm just going to pull this down. Like so. And then I'm going to move my thread to the inside. Move my little tail out of the way here. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a 3mm Bicone, and an 11-0. I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I'm going to skip the 11-0, the Bicone crystal, the 11-0, and go into the next set of 3 11-0s in the second 11-0. And pull. I'm going to push this to the inside and tighten my thread. Bring my thread to the inside of my bead and do the same thing again. I will pick up an 11-0. Thread is arguing with me today. 11-0, 3mm Bicone, and an 11-0, like so. I'm coming out of this middle 11-0. I'm going to skip over all these beads and go into the next set of 3 11-0s in the middle 11-0 and go through it. Draw my beads that I just put on down and then to the inside. I will tighten them, then I'll draw my thread to the inside of the bead I'm coming out of. And again, I will pick up an 11-0, 3mm Bicone, and an 11-0, like so. And then I am going to go into the bead I started in. So I'm going to skip over all these beads here and go into the second 11-0 in this set of 3 11-0s. Then I will also come up through the 11-0 I first put on. Well, maybe not. Let's just go through this 11-0 here. Doesn't want to cooperate with me. And pull this tight and arrange all of your beads so that they look pretty, like so. Then go into the 11-0 and the crystal here, the first set that we just put on. Exit the crystal and pull your thread through. Now you're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead onto your needle, and you're going to go from 3mm crystal to 3mm crystal. So just go into the next 3mm and pull the 15-0 seed bead down between those crystals, like so. Now if this starts to poof out a little bit, that's okay. The center should poof just a little bit. Doesn't usually happen till the end of the project, but if it does poof, it's okay. Pick up another 15-0, go into the next Bicone crystal, and pop that 15-0 down between, tighten your thread, pick up a 15-0, go into the next Bicone, pop it down, pick up another 15-0, go into the next Bicone, and pop this one down into place. Now sew through all of these beads we just put on. So we're going to go into the 15-0 and the crystal, and we'll just go through this entire little circular portion in the middle. So we've gone through the 15-0 and the crystal, we'll go through the next 15-0 and crystal. And as you do this, as you do this, make sure that you pull your thread nice and tight. And just for good measure, I'm going to go through one more. Now I'm coming out of this Bicone crystal. I'm also going up into the 11-0 above it. Let me back off just a little. You can see I'm coming through the Bicone, and then I'm going through the 11-0 in the set that we did right before we put the 15 O's on. So here is where my thread is, right here. I'm going to then go up into the 11-0 above that 11-0 and the crystal and pull my thread through. Like so. Now we are ready for our next step. First, I'm going to cut this little thread off for my tail because this is a small piece and it just keeps getting in my way. So I'm going to cut it with a little excess so I can burn it down. Then I will burn it down later, but now it's out of my way. So this is what we have. We're going to start building the arms of the cross here, or the top actually. We're going to pick up 3 4mm Bicone crystals onto our needle. We're coming out of this side of this crystal. We're going to go into the opposite side of the crystal and pull these 3 down tightly. And then we're going to sew back through it. And as we sew back through it, we're going to make sure that we keep this very tight. As you're pulling your thread through, make sure you pull straight through. Do not pull your thread to the side of the crystal because these crystals are sharp and it will break your thread. So just pull through. You do want to give it very tight tension as you're sewing through, but be very careful not to break your thread. Make sure that you get good tension on this because otherwise it will not hold its form. Okay, so I've sewn all the way around it. And now I'm going to go, I'm coming out of this crystal here. I'm going to go into these 3 and work my way up to this crystal. So I'll go into the 3 11-0s and exit. Sorry, I keep wanting to pull my piece out of frame and fling it across the room. Then we're coming out of these 3 11-0s. So now we're going to go into this Bicone here and we're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to pick up 3 Bicone crystals. And we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. Pull these 3 down nice and tight and then sew back through them. As you sew through them, establish very tight tension. If you hold them between your finger and your thumb, it helps you be able to get a little bit more tension as you pull your thread through. Go back into the connecting bead here and exit. Like so. Now we're going to sew through these 3 and work our way over to this crystal. So go through the 3 11-0s. They're at different levels because of the way we pulled the center together. So if you need to, go through 2 or 1 at a time, whatever you need to, and then come up through the top crystal. This is where my tail is, so I'm just going to kind of push it behind. And then I'm going to pick up 3 Bicone crystals and I'm going to go into the opposite side and pull these crystals down into another unit. And again, sew through and establish tension. Sew through and make them as tight as possible. Work your way up through the next 3 11-0 seed beads. And then go into the next crystal. Here we're going to make 2 units so that we have a longer end to our cross shape. So pick up 3 of your bicone crystals like so. Go into the opposite side just as we've been doing. Again, establish the tension by sewing through and pulling your beads tightly together. Then, once you get into your connecting bead, give it a nice little tug and sew back down to the very top bead in the unit so that we can make another unit there. So I'll go through this crystal and then this crystal here. Then pick up 3 bicone crystals. Coming out of this side, we're going to go into the opposite side and pull these into a unit, and then we will sew through this unit and establish tension in this unit. Now we want to sew up to this top bead here to start our next step. So we're going to go through this crystal, then we are going to go through this crystal here and exit. And this is what you should have so far. Okay, so at this point we're coming out of the little crystal here. I want to find my little tail, and I'm going to burn it down because my next step may make it a little difficult to get to as I finish, so let's get close. Here's my little tail. I'm just going to get a lighter and get the heat close to it and roll it down and try not to let it blob into any of my beads. So I'm just going to roll it down like so. And then we are going to stiffen the piece up, give it some form so it keeps its shape very nicely for us. I'm adjusting my thread here. Now pick up a 15-0 seed bead. You're coming out of this crystal right here. You're going to go into the next crystal and pull. And then pick up another 15-0 seed bead. You're coming out of this crystal, go into the very next crystal and pull that seed bead in, give it a little tug, make sure it actually goes down between your beads, and make sure your tension is very tight. Then pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm bicone crystal, and a 15-0 seed bead onto your needle like so. You're coming out of this crystal here, you're going to skip over to the bottom of this side crystal right here and go into it. Pull these beads down tightly. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead. You're coming out of this crystal, we'll go into the next one. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Go from this crystal to the next crystal, like so. Make sure the crystal pops down in there nice, or not crystal, excuse me, 15-0. And then pick up a 15-0, a 3mm bicone crystal, and a 15-0, like so. And you're coming out of this crystal, you're going to go into the top part of the cross, the side arm of it right here of this unit, and go in the bottom of that crystal and pull these 3 beads down in between. Give it a nice little tug. This is where the centerpiece will start to poof out. So just put your finger underneath it And the extra room you need to fit those in there, you will accomplish by pushing your center up with your finger. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and we're going to continue traveling around the beads. So we're going to go into the next crystal and pop a 15-0 between them. Like I said, as you do this, just keep arranging and kind of pushing your center up. Then pick a 15-0 up, go into the next one, and then here we will pick up a 15-0, a 3mm bicone, a 15-0, and we'll go into the next crystal on the next side arm here. Pop that down in there. Establish your room by kind of pushing the center up just slightly. Not big movements here, just meaningful ones so that you can actually get it to arrange the way you want. Pick up at 15-0, go into the next crystal, and again 15-0 into the next crystal, and again we will do 15-0, 3mm bicone crystal, and a 15-0, and we will go into this crystal right here. Work our way down to the bottom. Now make sure everything's nice and tight. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead, go into the next crystal, and then pick up another 15-0 seed bead, go into the next crystal on the bottom. You can go into the 15-0 on the other side of it too, that's fine. Make sure that everything looks good. Now you're going to sew around this cross twice. Well, basically 1 time and a half, because this is what's going to give the piece form and strength so it'll stand up and keep its shape nicely. So we're going to go through the entire perimeter of the piece, and then we're going to work our way back up to the top. So start sewing into all the crystals and the 15-0 seed beads. Now we've pulled them very tightly, so you're just going to have to work your way through carefully and easily. So I'm going to go through these 3 beads here and pull my needle through. Make sure that you did not skip your 15-0. Then go into the 3 in between the crystals here, right here. Go into the outside and the next 15-0, like so. And just continue sewing around the entire piece until you get back to the bottom, and then we'll come back and we'll sew all the way to the top again. So go ahead and sew around your entire piece. Okay, so I've sewed all the way around to where I started and the bottom part of my cross. Now I have to sew all the way to the top so I can connect my ear wire, plus this will even give it a little bit more strength. So we're going to do the same thing we've been doing, and we're just going to sew all the way back up to the top. Go into these 3 here. And these 3 here. My thread is doubled, so let me pull some more out of my needle here. And then up through here. So make sure you do not miss any of these little 15-0s, because then it'll throw the whole piece off. You'll see a piece of thread at the very least, and you don't want to see thread, so I'll work my way into these 3 here. I actually went all the way up into the bicone too. And then as you do this, just kind of straighten out your crystals so that you don't get them all discombobulated, if that's a word. I don't know. Okay. Then straighten everything up nice and neat. Make sure it looks good. This is what you should have. Now we're going to put our ear wire on. So we are going to pick up, first, get your ear wire and make sure that the bottom of it is closed tightly, that there's no opening. So just get your flat nose or something and just make sure that where the ear wire can be opened, it's not opened at all. It's very closed. And then pick up, we're coming out of this top crystal here. You're going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads onto your needle and an 11-0, and you're going to drop these down to the crystal. Then you're going to go through your ear wire like so. And then you're going to come back through the 11-0 seed bead and just the 11-0. Pick up your piece, hold on to your beads like this, and then pull your needle through and pull your ear wire down to the 11-0 seed bead like this. And then pick up 3 15-0 seed beads onto your needle and go into the opposite side of the crystal from which you started. So you get between this 15-0 and this crystal here and just come straight through that crystal. And we've got everything pulled pretty tightly, so if you have a little struggle, that's okay, just keep going. They're not thread tight, they're just pulled tight. Now we're going to go up through and sew through this one more time just to make sure that it's nice and secure. So I'm coming out of the crystal, I'm going to go into my 3 15-0 seed beads and my 11-0, and then I am also pushing my needle through the ear wire. Then I'm going to come down through the 11-0, and the 3 15-0s on the other side. Make sure you don't miss any, like so. Pull that through. Just going through once is enough. If you don't feel like it is, go ahead and go through again. But earrings don't usually get a whole lot of tension on them, so that should be okay. Then I'm going to go back into this 15-0, where actually I'm just going to go into the crystal. And then right here between the 15-0 and the crystal is a little thread bridge. Stick your needle under there. It's pretty tight, but stick it under there. Make sure that you're between the beads, not on top of them. Pull your thread into a loop. Push your needle through that loop. And don't tangle on anything. And then pull a little tiny knot down between those beads. And then sew down into the next crystal, the 15-0 on top of it, the crystal, and exit. Then go ahead and sew through the next 15-0, 3mm bicone, and 15-0. We'll get over to the edge of this crystal and 11-0 out here, so go into the bicone and exit through this 15-0 here. And then between this 15-0 and this crystal, grab that little piece of thread. And like I said, it's tight, so it takes a little bit of effort to get between the beads. Once you get there, then just make a loop. Guide your thread carefully between the beads, like so. Sew down through the next crystal and 15-0, pull it tight. And we are going to cut the thread off here. I'm going to cut it and just leave it a little bit. Then I will burn it down. Just put it close to the flame. Don't light it on fire and just curl that fire line down in, and it'll kind of pull into the bead there. And this is what you have. You can push the center up a little bit and arrange it, make sure it looks pretty. And that is your set of Christmas cross earrings. Easy, fast, pretty. That's all you can ask for a quick Christmas project, isn't it? Well, I guess it's not all you could ask, but it's good. So I hope you enjoyed it. Have fun. Bye-bye.